All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Exit Your Way Roundtable. With me today, I've got Jeff Baietto with Injoy Global, and just happy to have you here, Jeff.
So great to be here, Damon. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's Pete Alexander. I just want to give him a shout out here. Professor Pete Alexander.
Professor Pete.
Yeah, Professor Pete. I always laugh because Professor Pete lives 20 miles from me, and we have not seen each other. So it's so funny. But he lives across the sound here, and so water has separated us for a while. But we are getting together this fall.
Good.
But he had you on his podcast, and we connected after that, and now you're here today. But what we'd really like to do is learn more about you, Jeff, and where does it really start with you, and how do you go from getting as we talked a little bit ago, a master's in spiritual psychology to running, founding and running Injoy Global today?
Sure. Well, if you don't mind, I'll give you a little bit further backdrop than that.
That's even better.
My story starts, so 8th grade, I was, whatever that is, 12, 13 years old. And I had what was kind of clinically diagnosed as a bad attitude. I was that kid. I'm from a small town in Wisconsin, 9,000 people. And my dad, to his credit, instead of writing it off to those terrible kind of teen years, he gave me a cassette tape back then. Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret in the World. I reluctantly listened to it, and then I listened to it again and again and again. It was the first time that I had ever heard anyone speak about goals, mindset, the power of our mind, the power of what we put in it, and that put me on a course. Then during high school, never listened to music. I was a self-help kid. I listened to everything I could get my hands on. And I was the most positive kid in my hometown by a lot. There weren't very many kids, but in terms of that, I was very steeped in that. And that really formed kind of a foundation for me. And ultimately that'll play a role in how we got to Injoy here.
That is something.
Yeah,
I mean, because you don't hear about someone's story like that often, that they were impacted by a speaker like that at an early age, and then it affected you that much throughout high school.
I then got Zig Ziglar's "See You at the Top" series, seven cassette tapes, and during high school, I could have, if he was ever sick or had a voice, if he ever lost his voice, I could have substituted. I knew every word of every single cassette by heart, and I don't think I could have done it with his Southern accent, but I would have sounded like I'm from Wisconsin. But I would have got through it pretty well. So yeah, I lived Zig, and Tony Robbins had just come on, Dennis Waitley.
Yeah,
all those guys became serious mentors for me at that age.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's something. I when you talk about Zig Ziglar, my grandfather used to listen to Zig Ziglar in the car, and I would, the tape, like you said, the tape in the car, and I still remember that, and really the accent was always the thing that was the true, really telltale. So you did that in high school, and what brought you then to California?
Well, when you grow up in Wisconsin, I won't say it's for everybody, but for me, Southern California was like heaven. I mean, it was a dreamland. I remember, it wasn't California, but it was a warm. My grandparents had moved to Florida when I was in, 4th grade, and it was the first time we went to visit them for Easter break, and it was the first time I was ever on a plane. And it was March, and it was 3 feet of snow and 20 below, and we got up in the middle of the night, and it was awful. And we got on a plane, and 3 hours later, we land in Fort Myers. Get off the plane, and it's sunny and 70, and it was like a John Woo movie, like doves flying out of the, it was just beautiful. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And then it hit me. My parents knew about this place. Like they knew about places, and they chose to live in Wisconsin. So I love them. But from that moment on, I never trusted them with any major decisions in my life. That was, but I tell you, I say that because in my mind, I always had, and whether it was from a movie or something, but Southern California was always this just idyllic, location in the world. And it kind of is. But So it wasn't until much later that I got a chance to be out here, but it was always a dream.
That is funny you say that, because a fellow Midwesterner growing up, my parents are still there as well. They talk about the winters and they say it's not so bad, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess if that's the way you have to look at it.
Yeah,
but you're right there. Well, that's cool. So you've been out in California for a while now, and so like I said, so talk about that transition after you're in college and then beyond to kind of get to where you're going today.
Yeah. So short, I'll try to make this short, but basically I did go to school in the Midwest, as I had only applied to faraway schools that were like in warm places, but I ended up going to a small school in St. Paul, Minnesota, the only place that was colder than where I actually grew up.
Yeah.
But a lot of reasons brought me there. And finally, when I graduated, I was so excited to go somewhere warm. I moved to Mexico, ended up teaching English there.
Wow.
And then, which was great. And then I wanted to stay traveling, but earning pesos in Mexico wasn't going to work for long term. So I came back and I ended up getting a job that sent me to Europe. And so I spent a couple of years in Europe working over there, which was amazing. That was a great way. I had been there in college, but it was very different when you have a corporate expense account. That's a better way to see. That's a better way to see Europe.
Yes.
And so, but then I really I was entrepreneurial by heart. And so I had been kind of longing for that, and got a chance with my best friend from high school or from college and his brother-in-law. They had started a company, a computer, a video game publishing company. So in Austin, Texas. And I ended up joining them as a partner. And so I was in the video game industry for about 5 years in my 20s. And it was one of those fun stories. Like we started in an attic, and then we got a little bit bigger office, and then we got a bigger office. And so that was my first foray into technology, and it was just a great world. But at the end of that, it's, I love video games for a lot of reasons, but it wasn't what I was put here for. And I would wake up every 6 months and be like, this isn't the thing. Like, and then I met, fortuitously, a young woman who had just graduated from and got her master's in spiritual psychology from this program in Santa Monica, California. And I couldn't believe that was a real program. She had read every book I had ever read. She was like just amazing to be in her presence. And whatever that was, I just wanted more of that. And so she introduced me to the program. I applied, and it was, and then I enrolled for the next year. And that brought me to California. Along with a girl at the time. There's usually a girl involved. So
that happens from time to time.
Yeah. And so when I got out here, I did actually, I have two younger brothers. They had beat me out here. They were both out here in different capacities, but I went through an amazing program, Master's in Spiritual Psychology. That's a very California degree. My parents still have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful program where, we used ourselves as guinea pigs for 2 years to really dissect our lives, what was working, what our beliefs were, how we could, change and create from the belief level. And it was, I just met some amazing people, became very steeped in what was possible personally, and, kind of went on a journey there. So coming out of that, I started coaching. I built up a coaching practice with corporate people. That was my crowd. Who wanted more balance in their life. Like they were successful, had money, but they wanted to get in better shape or better relationships. But the problem with coaching was there's only so many hours in a week, and you really top out pretty quickly. And I miss technology. And so I was excited. At the time, my brother and I tried doing something together with our first version of a platform that would help people create healthy habits. That went a little ways. And then he's an amazing chiropractor and was building his practice. So he got busy there. I got a few corporate clients, and that got me into corporate America. And then I met my business partner, and Linda Lore. She's has had an amazing business career, and we hit it off. She had just left being the CEO of Fredericks of Hollywood. I don't know if you know that company, but So she had a storied, kind of corporate career, had run lots of large organizations in her tenure, but had left Fredericks and was looking for her next thing. She was consulting, but kind of wanted to make a bigger impact than just working with a few people in the C-suite. Well, it took us about a year to kind of figure out how we wanted to work together. But we netted out realizing that we could use the same technology platform that we were using to help people form physical well-being habits in terms of leadership and essential soft skills and all those things. And we started putting that together. We had a great team of developers that helped us, and and then we got going there. So that was the beginnings. Those were the beginnings of Injoy Global, and that was eight years ago. Yeah,
that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So if now so 8 years down the road, if you could go back and tell your 2013 you or 2012 you, whenever that started, what would you tell Jeff?
I think at any stage of my life, if I was able to go back, I would tell myself to relax a little bit more. Like I really, there's always been an anxiety around the future for me. And I don't know where exactly that stems from, but, but I think it's pretty common. And I think for me, the idea of being able to relax into the moment, knowing that growth is going to take time, that that life unfolds and things aren't going to go the way that I wanted them to all the time, and it's okay, and just to relax into the present moment. That would, I think, from where I am now, that would have been great advice at any age in the past for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I suffered from that a lot in my younger years, for sure. And as I've gotten better in my mind at it, I really adopted the mindset of, if I'm not going to think about this a year from now, I'm not going to really think about it too much today. And if I'm not going to think about it, if I am, then I'm going to pay attention to it and really. Yeah. But other than that, you just got to let it go, because it does. Everything takes time. It takes time. It just does. And
that being present, that's an important muscle to develop, and not an easy one. I think a lot of us, especially in the West, where we're goal driven, it's all about creating and building things. It's hard to stay present for a lot of us, and so for me, that's still a daily practice and a daily focus. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. So we'll talk a little bit about Injoy Global, but you've got a podcast that you've got how many episodes now? Well, we, I think, released our 82nd episode today or yesterday, and we'll hit 100 before the end of the year. And then we just started this year, so we're going to have done 100 episodes this year, which was a monumental ask at the beginning of the year. We were hoping to maybe do one a week, and we really love it. It's a dream come true. I mean, obviously, the chance of having conversations with people I would easily pay to be in their presence that's a huge gift. And we've got a really wonderful audience that's continuing to grow, and I'm really grateful for that.
That's cool. I mean, I've seen some of the people we were talking about Con Apostolopoulos and Dr. Elia, and Thane Isaacs and April Sprintz, Randy McNeely, just a lot of people that I know that you've had on. And good quality people. And it is fun. It's fun just having the conversations, Yeah,
it's one of the things when COVID hit, we went from 1 a week to 3 a week. And interestingly, like my personal experience of life, catapulted. So even while the rest of the world was, kind of going through the challenges that for me, I was 3 hours a week and sometimes and often more, because I'd get their books and I'd read and I was just steeped in these amazing people's worlds. I found myself happier, more grounded, more focused, more inspired than I possibly have ever been.
Yeah. I very similar situation. If someone would have told me a year ago that I was going to be doing, you say 3-4 hours worth of video like this a week now, I would have said, you're freaking crazy, man. Look at me. I'm an old business dude. I don't do this kind of stuff. But as you say, when you get to meet these interesting people and be a part of their world and just understand and learn, and so many incredible people just to talk to and get to hear their story, it's amazing.
And I'm so grateful for podcasts, both having one, but also listening. I mean, there's so much content, and I love the long form, being able to have a conversation where a lot of our world has shifted to the shortest bite-sized bits that competes for our attention. Podcasting is one of the few places where we kind of want, Joe Rogan talks to his guests for like 6 hours or, 3 hours, 2 hours. And somehow that works. And I think, for me as well, it's been really nice, whether it's before bed or, before when we're driving more, but it's really nice to get into a conversation where you could feel like you're sitting on the sidelines as two people are talking about things. And now I always say, like, we live in such a beautiful time in that we have unheard of access to the most inspiring, the most intelligent, the most loving, the most influential people on the planet all the time. We all have access to them and can hear what they think because they're being interviewed, and there's so much content out there.
Yes, that is so true. I don't even know what to say beyond that, because it's mind-boggling when you start to go out and you go through the podcast ecosphere and just look and listen and taste it a little bit, because there is so much and there's so many different people to sample. Yeah. So speaking of podcasts, what are some of the podcasts that you like to listen to?
Well, I have gotten a little bit more into Joe Rogan. He's not, just in certain ways, I like that. I don't know. I mean, he's at the top of the game. So it's always curious who I really am liking is Tom Bill. I'm not sure if I'm going to say his name right. Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory. He's fantastic. I like Lewis Howes, I think, is also, and there's a group of them. Ed Milet, there's a group of them. They tend to interview almost the exact same people. Jay Shetty, these guys, and they're all fantastic. They're also great interviewees. Tim Ferriss obviously is. I listen to him whenever I can as well. Like they're giants in the game, so they're wonderful. So
there's some good names there, that's for sure. And it is interesting too, because you can listen to one person that's interviewed with different people, and it's a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
And that's it. So in where you live there, what are some of the things that you like to do outside of working? I mean, hobbies.
I have a 5-year-old. And that's my very favorite and biggest hobby that I have. I love being a dad. It's just, I think all parents in one way or another say it's the hardest, most rewarding thing that we've ever done. But for me, it has opened my heart in a way that I didn't have any reference point for before. And so a lot of it is centered around him. And that's it's pure joy. Like since COVID, again, we've been inside, we're sheltering in place with my in-laws who have been amazing. And their home in Southern California here where we're at, like there's a lot to do. They're, as a family, my wife's an amazing singer. They're amazing singers. So they have a karaoke machine in the house. So we've got, my father-in-law is a great ping pong player. We've got ping pong in the garage, which is awesome. My mother-in-law, they're Chinese American. So, and Mahjong's a big thing for her. So we play Mahjong almost every evening for a little bit. And
that's cool.
So, and they've got a backyard for gardening and a park just down the street that, again, before it was, we go sometimes early in the morning but there's a lot to do here, and it's all family centered. So that is my joy. I'll tell you one funny story, because Bodie, I would wake up, I have him in the morning. When COVID hit, I kind of adjusted my schedule so I didn't start usually before 9 or 8:30, so I could have an hour and a half with him. And we got into crafts. Now, I am not a crafty person. Like that's not a thing I did or knew. But YouTube, thanks to YouTube and 5-minute crafts for kids. Now, 5 minutes probably for most people, but for me, that's a good hour activity. Trying to figure it out. But we made everything. We would do that, and the whole house is filled with stuff that he and I made. And it got to the point where I was so excited about the mornings. Again, I'm doing things that are designed for a 5-year-old, but I felt fantastic. Not only that that he and I were doing something together, but what we were making, like this actually looks like a fish. This actually looks like something. So we've had, and it does revolve around him a lot, but it's fun stuff, whether we play ping pong or go outside. He's got a little bike and I have a little scooter. I chase him around. So it's a lot that like my outside of work is family. That's by and large my giant priority. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say that about being with your son during COVID, and our kids are 21 and 25, and they were both with us at the beginning. Our daughter has since moved back to her apartment, but it was family time. And that's one of the things that I really think that COVID did for me personally is, they were 21, 25. You just don't spend time with your kids that age ever. We have good relationships with our kids, but again, it's game night. It's watching the movie that everybody wants to watch, watching that old movie that we watched when they were 7,
I think that's been the biggest silver lining for me personally. And to hear that in other families, just the amount of family time that's creative and conversational, whether it's game night or it doesn't matter, but that together time. We're with my in-laws, and again, they've been extraordinarily helpful, but we didn't spend time with them. They would babysit or they would come and, and now, we're here probably a little bit, they're probably excited for this to get over at some point, as well. So my son now speaks Mandarin with them. I'm the dumbest person in our house by a lot. So everyone's speaking. I have no idea what anyone's saying. So I just, if they want me, they know to speak and, to say my name, and then, but otherwise I'm, and it's beautiful because one gift that I would really love for my son is to have the language of, my wife's family. So what a gift. And we just never would have had this kind of time, or for him to have the kind of memories that he's making with them, them. So it's awesome.
Spending that quality time with it's incredible. That's cool. Cause I think that, we can all focus on the cruddy part of COVID, right? And there's plenty of that.
That's there. Yeah.
But this part of it is truly special. And I just feel good to hear that you've had that experience as well.
Yeah. I feel very grateful.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about Injoy Global. You guys are doing some interesting things there.
It's one of my favorite topics. I just love talking about it. It's as a company, it's a dream come true. Being able to co-found it with Linda and the team that we have together they're amazing. We're a small but powerful team. We have a group of developers and then a group of kind of front of the house people. And I was just, anyway, it's been built again, I think this, but building a team is, it takes a little bit of luck and a lot of work and all those things. And the people that have chosen in to work with us are amazing on all levels. And what we're creating as a team, I'm just so proud of. And each of the individuals, literally one of them coming out, the entire thing falls apart. So each person is absolutely essential, and it's that's been a joy. So Injoy Global, for the last 8 years, we've been in corporate America, and we are a software company. We created a platform that makes 30-day challenges, like a gamified series of 30-day challenges for employees to build the muscles of the essential soft skills. So we used it under the culture umbrella, but they'd work on emotional intelligence or the core values of the company or leadership mindsets or behaviors. And they would play a game basically where they would be practicing this and ultimately building those muscles, which has been amazing. But recently, and this is just the most exciting part, is we're entrepreneurial by nature, and our tribe, our people are the creators, are the authors, the speakers, the trainers, who the boots on the ground, the people who are really, their mission in life is to help as many people grow and develop. And so we're using our platform now to make their content experiential in a revolutionary way. So if you can imagine any book that I've got an entire bookshelf of books that I've devoured, or some that I haven't read as much. But if you ask me how much I'm actually implementing from any of those books, I'd be hard pressed to tell you like, oh, I'm using that, or I actually did. And that's not our fault. Like a lot of us have that story. It's not actually our fault because we're not designed to assimilate a lot of information at one time. And it's even harder for us to create a new habit or in our already very busy lives. So having a simple way that virtually holds your hand while you work on the things that you want to work on, this is where the future of learning and personal growth is going to go. It's going to be a series of 30-day challenges where people are being guided by their favorite leaders in whatever topic it is, that are virtually holding their hand while they try on the key elements of whatever, becoming a better leader or starting a business or having more confidence. It doesn't matter. We had 400 high school kids in the spring practicing empathy, like working on empathy, and 400 junior high school kids working on resilience. It doesn't matter. The idea of just practicing stuff that really develops character and that develops, a higher quality of life. We get to be a small part of that for a lot of people, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm writing that down because, man, I tell you, I never thought of it in that way. When you talk about practicing empathy or resilience in kids in high school and stuff, and there's such an impact you can make in that kind of thing, because I'm often sad because there's a lot of kids that don't have the influence that they need in their lives at home, like we were talking about you with your son and things like that, that these kind of tools would help them develop themselves a lot better.
I mean, all leaders, I'm sure a lot of the people you've interviewed, like the qualities that make people truly successful aren't what we learned in school. It's just not. No. It's just not. And so where do we get that stuff? And it is often it's only if we're lucky enough to have had a mentor or parents who were around and had time and conscious enough to work on those things, or if we, like the very small percentage that somehow luckily defied all the odds.
Yes.
But most of us, the giant majority of us, could use some help. And our educational system isn't designed to build those muscles. So we're left to do it on our own, which is, again, why the self improvement and the personal growth industry is huge. We crave that. But the problem, there's big holes in those business models. If you think about reading a book or going, the example I always give is, I don't know how many training seminars or workshops I've gone to, but even if I take copious notes, I'm writing, I'm committed, I'm in, I'm totally sold on this, I'm promising myself I'm going to apply it, within a couple of days, I am right back to where I was before the challenge. And if most of us are being before the workshop, if most of us are being honest, that's a very familiar experience, because left by ourselves, it's hard to create accountability and structure to implement a new thing. So we're using the platform to make that easy and fun. And we use positive psychology and gamification. And that's that's the magic formula to really make change, not only fun, but work. It
is. And Professor Pete's been on here. He said he's working with you guys on a stress 30-day challenge. That will be awesome.
This is and again, now Professor Pete is an expert in stress reduction, management, all those things. And that's great. He's studied it, he's a professor. He just understands things. But if you think about it, if he could hold my hand for the next 30 days and make sure I was doing the things he knows would help me move the needle in terms of how I deal with stress, that is awesome. And he's put it in a book. He's everyone's doing what they can, but the next evolution is being able to be in their pockets. So we're going to put Professor Pete in everybody's pocket, because when they need it, he's right there. And using a little bit of, using the formula that we have with his content, you can imagine how powerful that'll be.
Well, the positive reinforcement formula, or the stuff that you guys add to the content, and then the repetition over time. I mean, I've used repetition over time to try to develop new habits, and I'm not, but I'm a to-do list kind of person, a task list. So I have on my list every day, the first thing I do, I'm going to read for 30 minutes. I read for 30 minutes now. I don't need it on there anymore, but it's there. And I read for 30 minutes. I write for 30 minutes every day. But if I would not have had something like that was poking me for those first 6-8 months, or however many, the first
Yeah.
30 days at least to set the habit, and it just really wouldn't have happened.
Well, I think it's, it's super easy when we think about it, but most of us approach our personal development like, I'm going to go to this 2-day workshop or this 5-day seminar with Tony Robbins, and then I'm going to be in shape for the rest of my life. I mean, that's kind of like going to the gym once in January and saying like, that's good, I'm good for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
This is a daily practice. It's something that we need. It's exercise. So we hear the terms 21 days or 30 days to form a habit. The truth is that's the amount of time it takes to form new neural pathways. But if any of us have ever made a commitment to go to the gym and we made it 3 weeks, are we still going? It's not a guarantee. It's giving us the best chance to form a new habit only when you really take it to heart, and however long you needed the support until you didn't, in writing and in reading. And that's what we're saying is like, have the framework. How can we? Now we can use technology that if you have great content, which you do, people do, the content's there. That's not the problem. But information alone is only half of the equation. We have to apply it. So now the big challenge is, how do we help more people apply what they know, that what they already know would really move the needle from. And if they don't know, that the expert or the author or the trainer knows, if you'll just do this, this will really move the needle for you in your life.
That's really, really cool, because it is like, it's in the application. It's in the application of it. And the consistent application is really, if you're gamifying that, it changes the whole thing, because we've known for years and years and years that gamification, it increases the learning potential like crazy when you do this stuff. So yeah.
The example I always get, like, so I'll give you our game of, let's see what
our habits are.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So we use positive psychology and gamification. Now, positive psychology is basically, it's a science that studies how good we are, how we perform when we're in a positive state of mind versus negative or neutral. Now, we all know that we're better when we're in a positive state of mind. We're more patient, we're more creative, we're better partners, we're better leaders. But just how much better is what the science is showing us. And it's not a little bit, it's a lot. But the more important thing is that working with neuroscientists, they're finding that there are some simple but powerful exercises that no matter where we are on the continuum, we can all learn to move into a positive state of mind more frequently and stay there longer with practice. Now, what's great about that is if you've ever, I don't know, I always like to show the slide. If you've seen a brain scan of someone when they're in a positive state of mind, every single learning center turns on. We literally light up, versus when we're in a negative state of mind, it's just darker. And the statistics are, I mean, every single business metric improves. It improves. Every single quality of life metric improves when we're in a positive state of mind, and not a little. They improve a lot. So the keys to the kingdom for us are, if we can build challenges where we're helping people get into a positive state of mind more frequently and stay there longer, they're the best version of themselves while they're learning whatever they're learning, while they're working on whatever they're working on. So that's the first part. And then gamification is just using elements of a game applied to a real world activity to trick the brain into moving it out of another thing on our already overwhelming to-do list and into something that we get to do. Since I come from the video game industry, like that's an industry that's studied billions of points of data to see what kept people playing stuff. And they figured out there's like 7 elements of a game that trigger certain parts of our brain to want more of that. Well, and that's awesome that the data's there, but parents have known this for thousands of years. And I always use the example. I have a 5-year-old, and if I want him to clean his room, like I'm the dad, I'm bigger than he is, I can make him clean his room. And that's one experience. But if I tell him about the one little boy in Oklahoma that currently holds the world record for the fastest cleaning up of a room ever, it's 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And I don't think it'll ever be beaten. But if he wants to give it a try, I'm happy to get the stopwatch. Papa, get the stopwatch. I know I can do it. Let's do it. And that gets the same thing done, but his experience totally different. And as adults, it turns out we're not that much different. If we can trick our brains into feeling like we're playing something or getting to do something, even something like personal change or personal growth, we can move out of this is work into something that this is play and fun.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Plus, it makes me think that I wish I would have known you about 20 years sooner. A lot better parent. But it is interesting. It's not, it's really, I can see where you get pretty fired up about this, because the applications are endless almost. And then being able to connect with some of these great leaders that are out there teaching people some really incredible things, Professor Pete being one of them. But it just, and just because of the impact you're going to make.
We, in corporate America, over the last 8 years, we've had tens of thousands of employees that have gone through, challenges, and we have thousands of testimonials of them saying what working on, their attitude and their relationship skills and their emotional intelligence around whatever else they're working on has really impacted them, not only in their business, but as people.
Yeah.
But now that it's going direct, now that creators are going direct to their tribes, and we work with a lot of influencers on LinkedIn who already have a really big reach. But if you can imagine, again, it's going to just only get bigger. Like, people's reach is going to get bigger. The world's going to get smaller, and technology is how we're going to stay connected. And so now all of our creators, again, as another way, they may have a book, they may have a coaching program, they may have workshops and seminars, but now also we want them to have an experiential way for people to step into the work and do it and try it on and see what the impact actually is in real time, and have all of those creators watch and see. I was just on with Khan, I was telling you, and he said, we do all this work, and at some points we're like, I hope it's making the difference that I hope that I feel like it is. And this is proof. You can go on at any time and read all of the wins that people are having and all the things they're sharing. You're like, yep, that was the hope, like making an impact in people's lives on a daily basis. And that's important. That's an important part of the feedback loop, that all the creators really get a chance to see the impact they're having, because they are. I mean, it is obviously powerful, but that should be something that we're celebrating. Yeah.
I never thought about it, because as a creator, then you're going to be able to see the progress of the people that are using it to help them.
It brings tears. Honestly, when I go into any of our creators ones, and I just read, and our entire team does the same thing. Whenever we're not feeling great, we go read, we have a thing called the Wall of Wins, which is one of those exercises that basically, you think about it, most of us only celebrate big wins, and which only happen once in a while. And even then, we're not that good at celebrating those usually.
Yeah.
And one of those exercises from positive psychology is just focusing on smaller daily wins. And these are things that we tend to take for granted, tend to skip over as not big enough to really celebrate. But the thing is, the brain doesn't really distinguish that much from a big win and a small win. We get almost the same benefit from celebrating the small stuff. And and so that's what people are listing as in like a positive news feed. It's just this, everyone playing is sharing a win that they had each day, or a couple wins. And all of a sudden it's the most positive place on the internet. You just start seeing person after person. And some of it does a couple things. First of all, you're able to high five and comment, and it's a nice way to connect. But it also starts, for me, and we hear this a lot, is it's like, oh, like I had that experience, but I didn't even consider that a win. Or I didn't consider that a step in the direction of my goals. And now, just by watching other people and what they're sharing, you immediately start to acknowledge, like, wow, I have actually been doing more than I've been giving myself credit for, which reinforces, again, the good feelings and the dopamine. And all of a sudden you want to take another risk and take another step in the direction. It's a positive snowball effect. So we call that kind of positive habit stacking. And if you stack a few of these habits on top of each other, even though they're small and only take a minute or two, minute here and a minute there, the effect is really compounded pretty strongly.
Yeah, that's cool. I was writing that down, because the positive habit stacking, that is. And it is so true what you said about your brain doesn't know the difference, because I don't know how long ago it was when I started. Honestly, I've had some challenges with myself as far as, keeping myself in the right mental attitude. Right. And I heard from somebody, it had to be almost a couple of years ago now. They said, celebrate the fact that your eyes opened up and you woke up this morning. When you get up, celebrate that.
Yeah.
And I did. And it's like, when it starts with that, just that little teeny thing in the morning, it's like, man, I'm up today. This is going to be good. That's all I say myself. That's all I say.
It's amazing. We're big believers that one positive thought in the morning can really set the tone for the experience for the whole day. Our platform sends a little text or notification at 8 a.m. in the morning. It just says, hey, Damon, happy Tuesday. Click here for your morning dose of inspiration. You go there and there's a little inspirational thought or quote on your dashboard. And it just takes 10 seconds, but you can imagine it does a couple things. First of all, it is inspiring. Second of all, we know from neuroscience that the brain can't read something positive and be in a negative state of mind at exactly the same time. And third, by sending it out every morning at the same time, the brain starts to look forward to it. It wakes up and says, I'm going to be inspired now. And so that's different from how most of us wake up in the morning with going right to email or the news, and it's just a different experience versus I'm up, I'm excited about today, or, and so people, thanks to you, thankfully you're able to do that on your own. But a lot of us find it's helpful if we get a little support in that way.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. It's just, this is really, really something what you've developed here. And I could only imagine I would be bawling like a baby reading the thing. It's because it's, just seeing the impact. It's got to be it's got to be hit you hard.
I mean, we had one story, a woman in corporate America, and she wrote us a note. She said, and it started out, I have to tell you the way I wanted to write and tell you how much I hated your app. And she said, and let me tell you why and what happened is, I was going through this challenge and it was working on being grateful and other things. And I was, and then my father, had something happen. He ended up in the hospital and it took a turn for the worse. And then every morning I was being asked to come up with a couple of things I was grateful for. And I was angry that you were even asking. And, I'm going through this terrible thing with my father. And then I realized I was with him sitting there. And then I started to move to like how grateful I was for him and the time that I've had with him and all the amazing memories. And it was because it was on my mind. And she said, then each day I visited him in the hospital, that was the energy I brought in, was how grateful I was for him. And so she said at the end, this has been a brutal month. It's been brutal on one side and beautiful on the other. And so she combined those words. And again, she actually spoke much more eloquently than I did justice to it, but it was so like, that was it. Like the fact that in one of the hardest things she's going through, she could feel just a little bit of support. And that was an extreme example, but it's that always gets me, that one.
It's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And here's something we've got. Michael, excuse me, is here saying hello. But then Professor Pete, he told me this a while ago, and he always helps me with this when I remind him of this, because I have to tell everyone this about the thing about waking up, because it's been such a powerful thing for me personally. And people ask me, they go, how the hell are you like this all the time? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wasn't 10 years ago. I was I was just not that guy. But when you do it's amazing.
One of the greatest gifts we have as humans is our capacity to choose the experience we want, independent of what's going on in our external world. That ability is one of the greatest gifts we all have as humans. But so few of us have built that muscle that most of us get swayed very easily by what's going on in the external world. And so, again, that's a lifelong pursuit. The number of people that have mastered it are very tiny on the entire planet, but to be in pursuit of that and to be exercising and recognizing a difference in yourself, that you're a better version of yourself today than you were a couple of years ago, like that's the game. I mean, how wonderful to realize that it's possible to choose that. And now you're that person and people see that and now they're inspired, in one way or another. They may say, oh, well, just, you can do that, but you can even tell them, I wasn't always like this. And now, and then that gives them permission to try it on. So I think like that's the beautiful kind of circle of sharing this, is that we have this muscle that when we develop it, being human becomes pretty amazing. It's
so cool, Jeff. Well, Jeff, it's been awesome to have you here. And I mean, you get me inspired and fired up and just make me just I just feel so blessed to get to know you better and listen to your story, and what you guys are doing is truly amazing. Thanks so much for stopping by today. If someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to find out more, follow you? Where should they be looking for you?
Yeah. So first of all, Damon, thank you so much. Like, this is just pure joy. I so appreciate the opportunity to be here and love this conversation. So thank you. In terms of connecting, so on LinkedIn individually, Jeff Baietto, that's easy. Our company, enjoyglobal.com. That's for any of the corporate side of things. And then what I'll just share is we have an app. It's called Enjoy Daily, where you can go to the App Store, Google Play, and just get it. It's free. There is a way to to unlock some more features, but it has daily inspirations and a way to practice some intention, and you'll just get a sense of it. And that's a great way to join the tribe. Like, there's a global community that are just doing that. So any of those places are great to get a little bit more enjoy. Yeah.
Awesome. So the Enjoy Daily app, people get it downloaded, man. If it's half as positive as you,
Awesome.
It's downloading it on your phone, man.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. It's not, it's just the group. It's, you imagine you put a bunch of people who are all sharing positive stuff, like, it just becomes pretty powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, thanks a lot for stopping by today, Jeff. It was awesome talking to you, and we will watch you and just be following you. Good luck in the rest of the year, and have a wonderful season coming up.
Thanks so much, Damon. I really appreciate it.
You bet.